What do you prefer, chasing or choosing the quick fix or the long-term progress solution? Today, I want to talk to you about adrenaline, cortisol, dopamine, and what all of them have in common are if we respond to quick fixes or if we are going to think about, well, maybe we want to go for progress on long term. Now, some of you may know that I've been working on this playbook right here. So this playbook gets into a number of chapters. The core, which is about how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? It's about your inner beliefs, and it's about how you actually communicate with yourself, basically the care part, as in what do you want for yourself, what do you promise yourself, and do you stick to it? Now, I've been working on this, so it's been expanded. So this entire part, when it comes to what are your inner beliefs, there are some main beliefs, and then there are some other beliefs which basically are in line with the main belief. But by splitting it up, it can help you clarify what's going on inside your mind and how you actually react. So I made it into main belief and additional beliefs, main habit and additional habits, and main action and additional actions. And then, of course, there's the part where we go into rewriting your inner story. I also added a few things when it came to care. So everywhere is reset included. I'll get into the reset part, but it also gets into causes, circumstances, and countermeasures. So in case you're wondering, okay, what did you just say? And you may have run off, but if you're still here, you didn't, so that's good. Let me share a story, and this is actually a true story. So I have been talking to someone, and we got to talk about addictions. Now, I have one habit which is not good. I love to play games. And whereas other people may crave alcohol or other substance abuse or maybe smoking, I want to see the quick results. So hence the gaming. I also have hyperfocus, so I can just continue on for hours. But the problem with gaming, well, there are actual a number of things. So nowadays on the phone, there is music all the time. And the first thing I do is kill the music. Also, the other sounds, I don't like the sounds. I don't like the fake clicking of the keyboard. So those are things that I immediately silence. I told you I wanted to talk about adrenaline, cortisol, and dopamine. To start with the latter, dopamine is when you feel good. So, for instance, when you eat chocolate, which is true for most women, not all, it's about eating in general, which also is for most people, not for all. But normally, the moment that you start eating, there's this dopamine hit and you just keep on eating. The thing is that when we look at games, for instance, but also food, that the suppliers, or better said, the manufacturers, have added little things. When they say, with Pringles, for instance, I'm not sure what the first part is, but it's like, it's so good you can't stop. Once you pop, you can't stop. That's it. And that's true. I could eat the entire tube, it is like a carton tube, the box of Pringles. As for cookies and other stuff, it works the same way. So I didn't know this until, I guess, a few years ago, but they actually put stuff in there that keeps you eating, which of course is not healthy at all. The same happens when we look at games. So I was done with the constant advertisement, and then they constantly repeated this game that you had to go to, and actually I didn't like it because of the way they had drawn it. But it promised that you could play it without spending a dime. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Well, once I got to play that game, that actually wasn't true at all. So the drawings were completely different. The only thing they had in common was that the main character had green hair and still has green hair. And that's about it. So I was like, okay. So I started playing it. And then after a while, I realized that you are not required to spend any money. But if you want there to be any progress and to obtain certain goals, then all of a sudden you need to. And it's small amounts of money, but small amounts of money add up. And I remember when I was playing Pokemon for the first time, I had a similar response back then. I wanted to join the battles, the remote battles, and of course that required money as well. So at some point I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I need to stop doing this. The quick fixes, they are based on raising your adrenaline level. So it's an instant, I need to do something. So they change the music and they make it like it's necessity. It's like life or death situation when you're in playing the games. And I play rather harmless games, but still they try to influence you with that music. Now, because I am very sensitive to all sorts of sounds, I don't like it. And besides that, I don't like that feeling anymore of instantly having to go like, oh, now I need to go full force. Because not only does it make me feel like, oh, I need to go really quickly now, but nowadays I actually notice that my coordination is going haywire, which is related to the hypermobility. The thing is that because I am also always on alert, because of all the things that happened when I was growing up and some things which are still happening in my life. It's not that I'm consciously scanning the environment, but I always want to know what's happening around me. And that really stems from me growing up and wanting to know what's going to happen. I don't know if you know this, but at some point they made an attempt to kill me in the schoolyard. Of course, it was all play and fun for them. For me, it still isn't, because I still have the effects of what they used to do back then, which was choking me. Anyway, I have been working with a lot of people, neurodivergent minds. And why did they come to me? Because they lost perspective. What they do. When they lose perspective, that's when they want to opt out, which basically means that something has happened in their life to say, I can't handle this anymore. And when you're constantly influenced by stimuli, so there's too much sound, the lights goes on and you are like, whoa, what just happened? Those kind of things. Then you get very restless. Something shifts in your mind and you're like, okay, and that can lead to stress, high stress. And depending on who you are and the hormones and the chemicals and basically how you're wired, you can respond to this as in very intensely and instantly you're done, or you might not even notice it. I do notice those changes pretty quickly. And like I said, I always want to hear what's happening around me. So I'll never be doing a live wearing headphones with both earmuffs, I think you call them, on both ears. I'll always have one on one ear and one behind the other. Right now, I've got to take them off. I am wearing my shocks, and they make it possible for me to actually listen to music and also be aware of my surroundings at the same time. So that's kind of nice. So the reason I wanted to know about this whole adrenaline, cortisol, and dopamine hormones, basically, they are hormones. I was like, okay, so how does that work? Now, when I talked about quick fixes, there are a lot of people who use alcohol as a quick fix. I remember when I was a teenager that I had friends who already were drinking heavily. And well, nowadays I see it every now and then with other people as well. And there's the difference between enjoying something, like enjoying good food, enjoying a good glass of wine, and using it in order to take the edge off. So someone recently said to me, sometimes I just want to switch off. And I said, oh, I know that feeling, that you would like to just press the button and then, some time off and then, okay, turn it back on again, just a little bit slowly. And the moment that I experienced that for the first, I had experienced it multiple times. And then at some point, decades ago, I got some medication and it literally stopped my brain from, well, not from functioning, but from looping, let's put it that way. It became very quiet. The only thing was that I noticed that afterwards, when I woke up, nothing had been processed. So it wasn't the right medication for me. I used it for a while. It taught me something. It taught me that the brain can be quiet. And that was a very valuable lesson I got. But I do understand that there are people who, in order to numb the pain, actually create pain. So it's like, when putting your nail in the palm of your hand, I mean the nail of your fingertip. And I'm not going to say do that, but it's something that interrupts that signal going to the brain. It's something that's been done to when you experience very extreme physical pain by doing something, for instance, with your fingernails or something else. You basically interrupt one signal by applying the other one, which is less harmful. Now, again, this is not about you trying things at home, but it is something to understand. And when we go on about those quick fixes, the thing is, when you are feeling okay again, you might not need them. But what happens when you are on edge again? And that's where addiction comes into play. And I can understand that there are people who say, I quit cold turkey and now I don't need it anymore. There are a number of people who quit smoking from one moment to the other, and they still don't smoke. But when you have been using certain substances, literally to numb yourself, to take the edge off, that usually is a different story. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's gaming or whatever poison you choose, this is about being aware of what you are doing and why you are doing it. Now, there's this thing that you can do when you are feeling instant anxiety or you are feeling panicky. In my case, it's when that adrenaline rushes up, then I tell myself to breathe through it. And I sometimes literally scream at myself, cut it out. In my mind nowadays, it's like, okay, release the rush, embrace the rhythm. I go like, release the rush, embrace the rhythm. So I focus on my breathing, and the moment that I interrupt that pattern of going into adrenaline mode, I am aware that, first of all, I don't want it because, my coordination goes haywire. I drop everything and it takes me way more time to get things done. And it also helps me to make a decision. What is it that I want to do? And the decision can be, I'm going to call someone. This is not going to work out. I can maybe say, okay, I do one thing, but I won't do the other. So there are some things that I can choose to do. Okay, so that's for adrenaline. But now when it comes to cortisol, that's a different animal, although it still wants something from you. It still wants that dopamine hit. So especially people who have experienced trauma, especially on a consistent basis, they crave that release. Like, okay, I just need to be able to unwind. And when you look at the games, especially when you have to do certain tasks in a certain amount of time or after a certain amount of time, that can be, well, let's call it addictive, as in you want to do it constantly. And it's like, okay, I need to get up now because if I don't, then I'm going to miss out on this, that, and the other. So basically, it disrupts your normal pattern in life. So the cortisol is something that's, whereas the adrenaline instantly hits, the cortisol kicks in a little bit later. It's sort of like when you are working out. So the first few minutes, you don't want to go too fast or too intense, because what you will notice is that burning sensation in your muscles, which is because you're not yet in your oxygen system yet. The moment that your oxygen system kicks in, then you don't feel that burning sensation anymore. Your heart is adjusted, your lungs have adjusted, and you are ready and prepped to continue on. That's why when we talk about running, we say start with walking first, walking a little bit faster, and then when your heart knows, okay, I'm adjusting, your lungs do too, then you can go and start running. And then don't start at the fastest speed straight away. Now, for me, this all works perfectly together because I am hypermobile and I have something called mast cell disease. Things just interact left and right. It can be that I'm eating something that's causing this reaction, which cramps my muscles. And then instantly, because there's stress, those mast cells go haywire. And there are other reasons why they go haywire as well. But I didn't really realize it till, well, maybe half a year ago, maybe even shorter, that stress was actually a major reason to have a what they call a histamine explosion. And in this case, the cramping of the muscles. Since I know, I still know which foods are responsible for it because that hasn't changed. Well, maybe the number of foods have increased. But I also got some other medication, and that has really helped me. But apart from that, when we talk about that adrenaline rush and quick fixes, well, that hasn't changed. I still, well, people say I'm on the spectrum, and I know I'm the restless kind of type, so the ADHD kind of type. That's still there. And well, I've talked to you about Jumping Bunny, and Jumping Bunny represents me. That's my inner kid. And whereas she can be very happy and playful, she can also be there watching out for me. And then when things happen that I don't agree with, then she starts boxing internally. I can feel it here. And I need to do something. I either need to start moving, I need to change what's going on, but something requires my attention. And if I don't do something, then that adrenaline keeps building and building, and it makes me really restless. And at that moment, I cannot focus anymore. It's harder to concentrate. So there's something that I need to do to interrupt that pattern. What I can do is I can doodle. I can go to my phone and just do something on the phone. I can, of course, also address what's going on and talk to the person about it. So it can be that I'm seeing something which catches my attention. And there are people nowadays who start to ask, okay, what are you seeing? Because I am still having the conversation, but I'm looking in a different direction. And I'll explain what it is. For me, it's important to be able to have some form of freedom, as in when I'm doing something for a long period of time, then I want to have these little breaks where I can do my own thing. And I had to learn that it's okay to actually get up or just walk around and just do your own thing for a while. Now, usually when I'm at the dinner table, I won't get up straight away, but it depends on if I'm in a group or not. In a group, it's easier. When I'm one-on-one with people, depends on how good I know them. I might actually say, okay, give me a minute, I need to check something. And if I don't know the people very well and I still need to check something, I will say, hang on, I need to check something. And I might explain why. For instance, because there's something going on with the client and just want to be in the loop if everything goes the way it should, or that just maybe I need to send a message, oh, think about this, that, and the other. Something to make them feel better or at least support it. Since my mind has a habit of going all over the place, it helps a lot to actually give in to this, and otherwise I need to write it down. I've noticed that when I don't act on it straight away, I have this habit of not responding at all or simply forgetting about it because, well, my mind's already doing other stuff. So I've learned how to work with it. So when I was talking with someone about feeling anxiety and panicky, I said, okay, there are some things that you actually can do. You can start singing Happy Birthday or another song. You can count backwards. You can start walking. Anything you can do to literally interrupt those emotions which are looping. Now, the same applies when we talk about that need for a quick fix, not necessarily because you feel panicked, but because you are like, oh, it's time again for the dopamine hit. And by focusing on your breathing, you are actually already starting with an interrupt. And then, of course, the question is it worthwhile to go and respond to that quick fix or not? Or better said, to the dopamine hit. Because when you use a quick fix, like eating a cookie, and you keep doing it often enough, a lot of quick fixes actually work against you. It's either because you're spending money, or you're eating too much food, or you're drinking things that are not healthy for you. So, not to mention cigarettes. But all those things, when you want to give in, it's like, okay, what is the consequence of giving in? I remember people talking about quitting cigarettes, and well, whereas one would go for candy, other people would say, I've got water and I'll take a sip. So for them, it was the act of holding something or doing something, and they replaced that with something else. Regardless of which way you choose, it's about choosing. So this is about let's stop chasing and instead start choosing. When you look at the playbook, especially this one, which is a little more extended, it really has you think about what is it that I'm doing and why am I doing it? So let's go to the Gossip Harbor game. It's kind of cool to, well, it's at first it's about achieving the goals. And then I realized at some point, okay, once one has been achieved, then the next one is there, and then the next one. And you can go on forever if you have enough gems and energy, and otherwise you need to spend money, right? Or you have to wait a certain amount of hours until you can get going again. And then, of course, the question is, what are you doing by the time that everything has recharged? So how into the game are you? I mean, if there's a certain assignment and it takes you like 3 or 4 times waiting for recharging, then you might want to just go click it the moment that it's there, because it only takes you like half a minute and then you're already done. But for the people around you, that's not always very helpful, and it can be very distracting for both you and the other one. So it's something to think about. Are you going to do this while you are working on something or not? And when I said it comes with a cost, and I'm not just talking about the gaming, of course, but the giving in to that dopamine hit or something that will lead to the dopamine hit. The question, of course, is, but what are you not doing what you could be doing because you're focusing on the other things? So what I like about the Gossip Harbor is it's the game, right? It's the colors, you're creating something. And I didn't realize it at first, but it's very predictable. What you have to do is very structured. You just move things together, and then at some point you've got something. So I've got everything neatly organized in rows or columns, depending on where I am. So I have an immediate overview. This is what I've got, and this is what I've not got. But if I really think about it, I'm like, okay, but how is this helping me move forward? It's costing me money. It's a never-ending thing. It's, you just can put money in there or energy or whatever it is. But other than you are at the next level, nothing much changes. Of course, they have a nice story, and the things you're working on, they expand at some point. So yes, it is nice. But the question again is, but what is it that I'm not doing because I'm putting my attention to that one? Now, I know I'm someone who likes to play games, and I recently found this other game. It's called Locus. Locus is based on Tetris, and actually it has a deck of cards and paper. So you use pen and paper. Now, because of my hyperfocus, I can keep going on and on and on. So I always need to pull myself back and say, okay, this is what you can do. Now you need to keep on going again, doing what it is that you were intending on doing. The hard part is, whereas one thing can give this dopamine hit straight away, that when you really want to work on something, whether it's that playbook or, say, for instance, the Hub for Neurodivergent Minds, it takes time, and it's not always easy. We have to literally learn something. Now, the brain loves new stuff, but there can also be a part that is like, well, do I really want to learn new things? And it takes so long before I actually see the result. And that's when it gets tricky. So you want to build in tiny wins, something that instantly gives you like, oh, this is nice. LinkedIn has this very good thing nowadays. They have these games on there, and depending on which game you play, it's going to be really quickly or it will take a little bit longer. Also depends on whether you're a native English speaker or not, because some games are in English, including certain expressions. So I'm constantly learning things on LinkedIn. Like today was Guild the Lily, and it was Guild the Lily. And Guild is basically about putting a golden layer on something that's already very pretty, which is a lily. So basically it's about overkill. And because there are only like 6, or I think nowadays there are 7, you can choose which ones you want to play and not. And well, if you don't play it, that's okay too. In my case, I also do Duolingo like on a daily basis. It's been way over 1,600 days now. So yes, that's a number of years. And for me, it's important to keep doing that. But here's the thing, of course. I don't like it when my streak would get lost or when I have to use a streak freeze. So sometimes when I forget because I'm busy doing other things, and I've set an alarm nowadays for these kind of things, I just play quickly a piece of music that's done within a minute, and I leave the original plan why I was doing this, which is Spanish, for what it is, because that really takes up a lot of effort on my part. So since I have been playing music as early as 3 years old and I can read notes, the thing with the music is easy. But when it comes to Spanish, well, that's a kind of different story. So always think about what are you doing and why are you doing it. Now, I'm also in this app from Brendan Burchard. It's called Growth Day. If you're interested in Growth Day, then check out the link. I'm going to write it down right now that I am going to put the Growth Day link in the description. So it's about personal development, and it talks about, well, it talks about so many things. When this time it was about gratitude and journaling and what journaling actually does for the brain. And it was kind of interesting. And I always like to pick up on the little clues, think about it. And he also wants you to answer certain questions, seeing to look with a different look through a different lens at life. Now, going back to the playbook, when I started to talk to Google AI, in this case, about Gossip Harbor, they assumed that it was just about the dopamine hits. And they assumed that when I wanted to stop, it was like, okay, make sure that there's no access to immediate money for the game. So that you have to do some extra things in order to hit pay, the pay button, the money button. And actually, I have been thinking about this for a while now. And I was like, okay, every time I do it, I need to make a choice. And I realized pretty quickly, like I said, small amounts, they keep adding up. So I already think like, what have I spent today, this week, this month, to, to keep it limited. Because when you play too much, there's other stuff that you cannot afford, right? So we don't want that. And it's, when I read that there's a whole psychology behind it, and they hired people to actually have you spend all that money, I was like, oh, so you're a psychologist and you're using your knowledge against me. I didn't like that idea. So for me, that was already reason like, okay, I need to stop doing this. But, the moment that you start thinking about it, and I was like, literally like, yeah, this is an endless, bottomless pit. It keeps on going and going and going. And when you talk about results and building something, working towards something, or like, yeah, but in the end, what have I accomplished? Okay, I'm to the next level. But when it comes to really producing something tangible, there's nothing. I mean, you're not working towards something because there's nothing to work towards. And I was like, that's not good. I want to focus on building that hub, setting up the foundation, and some other stuff. And well, that takes priority. So I also have made my own personal playbook so I can actually monitor if it's working or not. But when I talked to Google AI about it, and actually also about Brendan AI, it suddenly was like, there must be something like an app that I may be able to build or someone else is able to build. And to my surprise, nowadays it's actually kind of easy. So I haven't built it just yet, but it should be relatively easy from what I've seen up till now. I mean, technology has changed so fast nowadays that whereas as it would have been a lot of work like a couple of years ago, nowadays things are so much easier. So I still have to research it, but I was like, oh, is that going to be cool if I can create an app which helps you to actually just fill out that playbook on your phone where you can go like, okay, I want to change this. How am I going to do that? And that you literally go for your goal and then to think about your limiting beliefs and then, but if is this true? Is this helpful? Okay, so what if I want to change it? And then also think about, but how is it when it comes to cause and effect? So that's why I added that part, which is about causes, consequences, and counter moves, because I wanted to understand why am I going for those quick fixes straight away. And of course, there are multiple reasons for a lot of people. And some of those, in my case, have to do with the mast cell disease, but also with the always being on high alert, or at least some form of alert, and then the ADHD brain. So, and we can go on and on and on. So then you want something that's predictable. So that's basically the cause. But the consequences are that I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing because I'm with the hyper focus spending way too much time, or I would be spending money on it, which we don't want either. And that's why Locus is very nice, because Locus doesn't cost any money except for a new pad with new forms on there when you're done. Because I think there are like 500 in there, and then, well, you need to get a new note pad, and so you can continue on again. But it still comes at a price. I am not doing other things that I should be doing. So that's why I'm talking about consequences. I see I wrote down consequences. I left out the S. And the question is, okay, what are the counter moves? So maybe it's about setting an alarm. Maybe it's about telling yourself, I can do one game and that's it. Or I can do 2 and then I need to go on. And then after half an hour or an hour, I can start doing it again. So say it's break time, you need to drink water or something healthy anyway. Maybe walk around. Then you can say, okay, before I get back in, I'm going to relax my mind a little bit and then I go on full force. So you've had that dopamine hit. That's nice. And that makes you feel better straight away, which gives you the motivation to move on with whatever it is that you are doing or trying to do, whatever is happening at that moment. So I want you to think about that too. Like, hey, how do those things work on your end? Do you recognize the things that need for dopamine and that feeling of, oh my God, something is happening and I don't know how to get out of the loop? Like I said, there are some things that you can do in order to interrupt that pattern. Now, remember, I still have the Rewrite Your Inner Story challenge. I can put that link in there too. But maybe you are actually looking for this one. Now, this one is in black and white because I still need to replace the ink cartridge, but actually it's got these nice light yellows and light blues and light grays. So it's kind of nice. It's not too much in your face. I don't like it when it's really in your face. I like it to be, calm and all those kind of things. So if you are curious and you could use something that you really want to focus on, but you keep getting stuck, then go find me. And the moment that I have something more, I'll make sure that there is a link in the description so you can check it out. And you can go there and you can start to download it. But I'm kind of curious what you think of the idea of this being in an app. So wherever you are, you can instantly go to that playbook and be like, okay, let's back up. What just happened? And really think about, is this helping me? Is this working for me? Is this benefit me? Is this benefiting me? Or not at all? So you can make a conscious choice. Now, if at first you still want that quick fix, or later on you still want that quick fix, that's okay. But be aware of the consequences and make sure that in time you do have those counter moves so you can do something to interrupt that pattern. And like I said, I've given you a number of options, both for when there's this instant need because something is going on, but and you're looping, frantically looping, but also for when you are doing things which are strictly based on, I want the dopamine hit. So it's not so much because you are looping or you're restless or you are like, this is not the way it should be, but you need that quick fix because you just need that feeling of feeling good. Well, if you're there, like I said, go get it, download it, hit me up. And again, think about it. Just think about what I've said. If you download it, really think about, okay, what's it doing for you? How does it make you feel? And if you're not ready to fill out this playbook, so basically this form, what's keeping you from doing it? I mean, if you don't need it, that's easy. But there's always something that we can improve. But if you do know that you need to improve something, then what is it? and what's keeping you from doing it. Those are the things that we want to figure out. And that's why we have the part which is about the inner beliefs, which gets into, okay, what is it that you want to change? Because long term, it won't help you move forward. It might only help you work backwards. I'll see you again next week. Let me know what works the best for you.